wants to exercise every day. There is not a single person that wakes up every day and is like, ready to go, I love it, like I'm so excited to be here. It just doesn't happen. That's why we have personal trainers and workout classes, because then you have accountability like we talked about. But it's the same with the healthy eating and nutrition aspect of it. Like you don't want to do that every day, but if you sprinkle in these things that you like here and there, you get rid of that idea of, okay, well, on the weekend, I'm going to eat whatever I want, but during the week, I'm going to eat really healthy. If you have things spread out throughout the month here and there, you're going to be so much better off. And getting into that routine, it's all about the routine.
Welcome back to Heal Your Roots podcast. I'm Kira Yakubov-Plashansky with our guest co-host, Dr. Katie Manganello, and a special guest, Amanda Matrisciano, personal trainer with a specialty in helping women through their pregnancy journey. Thank you so much for being on with us today, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You and Katie know each other. If the two of you want to share how you know each other, how you met.
Yeah, Katie comes to the gym that I am a trainer at, which is, Katie, when did you officially start at NGU?
I started in October.
Wow, okay. So
yeah.
It feels like much longer than...
It does feel like longer than that, for sure.
But yeah, at this gym, Never Give Up in Manayunk, I teach classes. I'm also a personal trainer, like you mentioned. But Katie comes to our group classes, so that's how I met her through that.
Yeah, which I am on the wait list right now for Strength on Thursday, if you can get me in. So. Amanda's very popular classes, so, very high demand.
That's awesome. So, Amanda, can you share with us a little bit about your background, how you got into personal training, and specifically helping women through pregnancy?
Sure. Yeah, I really started my personal training journey right after college. I, like most people, went to college, ate what I shouldn't eat, drank what I shouldn't be drinking, felt really crappy, and was like, all right, I need to do something to get myself feeling healthier. So that's really when I started getting into fitness a little bit more in a sense of actually working out myself and putting workouts together. I was always an athlete. I always did sports, so I was always active, but that's when I kind of got interested in, okay, you're not going to be an athlete forever. I wasn't that great, so I had to do something on my own post-college, and I figured if I at least go through this certification, I'll learn a little bit more for myself, whether I use it or not, to train other people. And I started with one-on-one training at a really small gym by my parents' house. And then when I moved to Manayunk after college, I just reached out to a couple of local places, and it ended up working out that I got this position at Never Give Up and started doing group fitness, which I hadn't done before. I had been training at another gym, but this was really the first time I was doing that full time. And then honestly, I just had a lot of clients that were younger women who were interested in having children, and people that were coming to me saying that they were pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant. And it's also a very interesting time because I know before a lot of my patients' family members know that they're pregnant because they have to tell me. So as soon as that started happening, I was like, okay, I need a little bit more guidance on what can they do, what can't they do, what do I need to be looking out for to support them better. So then I got my additional certification in the pre and postnatal training aspect of it, which is really just an add-on to my regular personal training certification.
Amanda, what did that entail in having to do like the additional certifications?
It's pretty similar. It's all online training. It was a lot of just courses, reading. You take an online exam at the end, but really for pre and postnatal, it's not, and I know we'll get into this, it's not as extensive as people think that it is. It's really, they can do what everyone else can do. It just guides you a little bit more through how a woman's body is changing and what to be aware of when you are training somebody that's pregnant, and like, hey, these things might happen and that's okay. You don't need to be nervous about them. So it was very similar to my personal training certification, which I did online as well. And they just have you get a book, you read different chapters, you watch some videos, and then you have to take an exam at the end to get the actual certification.
Awesome. Okay. And so it sounds like it kind of just found you, this process.
Yeah, it really did. It's a running joke that I don't know what happened when I started working at NGU, but there's something in the water, and all of my clients are pregnant or have been pregnant or will be pregnant soon. Um, there was months where every month I was finding out one of my clients was
Wow.
pregnant. So at that point, I was like, all right, I have to do it now because all of them are pregnant, or people and others were pregnant. And so it just also helped to put me at ease. Like, okay, I have all of these women that they want to train. They've felt so good starting training. They were all at different points in their fitness journey. So to also be able to give them the guidance and like the comfort of it's okay, like we're good, we can keep training through your pregnancy, has been really helpful. So
like a good luck charm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really don't know what happened. But it was me. I will take all of the credit for it.
That's just one of your gifts. Yeah.
It really truly is. I don't know how I do it, but
That's awesome. Yeah. So what would you say for you is like, when you are working with pregnant women, or, that pre and post status, what do you think are some of the mental, emotional, and physical benefits of staying active throughout the pregnancy?
I think mental is honestly the biggest thing, and a mental and emotional together, just because, and like I said, they're all at different points in their fitness journey. So I've had women who were so active their entire lives, and this is throwing like a huge wrench into what they're used to and their normal routine. So for them to hear, hey, you can work out through this pregnancy and we're going to change things when we need to, but it's still going to be a beneficial workout for you, just puts them at ease. And for a lot of them, that is their outlet. Like they work out to make themselves feel better mentally, and they feel better leaving. And to not have that, or to take that part of their routine away just because they're pregnant, I've seen the flip side of that as well, where either women have really challenging pregnancies and they truly can't work out, or they just don't feel as comfortable working out, and it really takes a toll on them mentally. And then the physical aspect is just, I've talked to a lot of pelvic floor specialists, and I am not a pelvic floor specialist, but it helps so much with the afterwards, and the way that I've seen so many of my clients be able to come back probably sooner than they would have been able to come back. And it doesn't even mean they're jumping back into these crazy hardcore workouts. Just being able to do something brings back that mental aspect of, okay, now postpartum, you have a newborn, you're exhausted, you're doing this stuff 24/7, to have that little teeny tiny 45 minutes to yourself to be able to do something and know that you get to do that every week or twice a week or whatever it is. Just, I've seen such a drastic change in their attitudes and how they feel. And even I have a client right now, she's due in June, and every time she comes in, she's like, might be the last time. I don't know. See how I feel. And this morning, like, we're just slowly slowing it down. But she said to me this morning, I never thought I would get to 36 weeks and be working out in any way, let alone with weights and doing actual workouts. So she just, even though physically she feels uncomfortable, mentally she feels really good that she made it to that point. So
that's incredible. And I'm wondering, because I have a newborn. She is at this point 4 months, and I wasn't sure. The things I was reading is like, if you have been working out, continue working out. But if you haven't worked out, don't try anything new, or don't do anything too intense. Like, there's a lot of like misconceptions out there. Would you be able to share a little bit about like some information or knowledge to give women, whether they have been working out or they're starting for the first time, like how to go through that process?
Yeah, for sure. I've actually worked with both women who have worked out their whole lives, it's part of their routine, and they kind of just keep that going. It really is true, like what you were doing before is what you can do during. You shouldn't increase the intensity of it too much, but if early on in your pregnancy you're interested in, hey, you know what, like I know that I'm a slightly active person, but I'm not going to the gym every day, but I would like to stay active during my pregnancy, just starting with lower impact workouts, whether it's just using lighter weights or body weight or strictly core work. I think a lot of the myths are around, oh, like pregnant women can't do that. They can quite literally do almost anything unless it's uncomfortable for them. So there's a lot of things, and it's, you know, like I said, the comfort of the mother. You'll also talk to your doctor. Like doctors will recommend don't be in a room that's heated over a certain amount. We have heated classes. They also will tell women, if you've been doing that pre-pregnancy, you see what's comfortable for you, and then we'll talk about it. So I always tell them, you know, talk to your doctor about what you feel comfortable with. But it could be something. I had a client, her whole first trimester, we couldn't do anything where she hinged because it made her feel nauseous. Like you just adapt to what's going on with your body. But there's nothing written anywhere based in science that says, you know, don't hinge, or the only thing they'll say is you don't want to be on your back for too long, which they talk about that in general. And that's more so when you are further along. But I've also seen women on their back doing, you know, careful core work. The only thing that I really avoid is full sit-ups, crunches, anything where you're like really contracting your core altogether. But that being said, core work is a massive part of pregnancy. So there's so many other things that you can do with someone who's pregnant or postpartum to get their core strong and keep their core strong without doing those extreme movements of, okay, you're really using the entire core for this move. So a lot of it is myths. I tell my clients, if you saw it on social media, I don't want to hear about it unless you talk to your doctor about it and they agreed, because there's so many things out there that they say, don't do this, this is great, this is bad, and I just try to steer them clear of any social media pregnancy guidance.
That's relatable for us too. Not necessarily with pregnancy, but people are always coming in, they're like, look what I found out on TikTok today. And I'm like,
yes, I'm sure. It's very true. You can find anything on social media these days. So
yeah, for sure. Well, so, okay, something that I was thinking about too in talking with, because I have a lot of friends that are pregnant right now. And actually, when I was leaving the gym last week, I was talking to someone who's like postpartum. And I think she had the baby like 5 weeks ago or something like that. I don't know. I know there's obviously a period of time that you have to wait. Mm-hmm. So what do you suggest people do in that period of time? Because like you said, it obviously benefits you so much mentally, and to go from having that support in a way than to not having that for that long. What do you like help them prepare for that in any way?
Yeah, it's hard because the one thing I've learned, and really through my clients because I don't have my own children, but those few days after giving birth are so key. And my clients that truly did not do a single thing felt the best when they came back. So, but only a few days. Like that doesn't have to be 6 weeks of absolutely nothing. You have a newborn, obviously, you're moving around, you're getting up, you're doing things. But those couple of days, even within being in the hospital, if you can let your core recover, it's the same as any other workout, right? If you're doing legs 6 days a week, your legs are not going to get stronger because you're not giving them any time to recover. So it's kind of the same with your core. Like, it just went through a very traumatic experience and a race, so to speak, and you got to the end of this finish line that you were preparing for, and now you need to let your body recover a little bit. So kind of talking them through that, like, it's okay to take a break. You just had a child. It's going to be okay if you take a couple of days off. And that's a message for anybody. Like, you will not lose all of your strength in 5 days, I promise. And then after that, a lot of like slow core pelvic floor. I will find people on Instagram that are certified pelvic floor specialists, and I will send those videos to my clients so that they have something visually they can look at and kind of use for themselves. And then when it comes to coming back, if you've had a natural birth and your doctor is okay with it, I've had clients that come back as soon as 4 weeks after giving birth. And we're not doing anything crazy. It is pretty much the same, pelvic floor, core, really, really small movements. They're on their back a lot. They're not lifting heavy weights, but to ease them back into that routine, I think it helps them a lot. I have one client that I didn't even think she was going to make it through the 4 days of do not move your body. And the morning she got cleared, at 4 weeks, she texted me and said, I need you to come to the studio tonight. I don't care what we do, but we're doing something. I was like, okay, here we go. So it's that mental aspect of it that they just need it in their routine. A lot of them honestly don't care what I'm doing with them at that point. It's just like, how do we slowly start to get ourselves back into that place, especially if they were active before pregnancy, because then it's like, okay, where did my core muscles go that I've had for my entire life if it's your first child? So it's just to ease them back in. But a lot of pelvic floor, a lot of stability, a lot of stuff that you're kind of doing on your own because you have a newborn that you have to pick up and carry around. But it's a lot of training your body to do that stuff properly so you're not pulling your back out, doing something that is going to then make your life more challenging with a newborn. So I'll do a lot of stuff like that to help them prevent low back pain, prevent hip pain, anything like that that would just make their lives more challenging, basically.
I think I was telling Katie and you this earlier, is I wish I found you beforehand and during, because my recovery was really tough. And I've heard about pelvic floor and everything, more so with like sex therapy, not necessarily after birth and things like that, and like how to strengthen it and how much it's connected to everything. Like, I think it's very understated of how important that part of your body is for just like any kind of movement. And I found that walking, like after I gave birth, after a couple of days of resting, like just walking, like I was like a turtle, super, super slow,
Yep.
but just walking every day, I found out that really helped me like get a little bit stronger. So I'm glad that you are giving like this information to all your clients ahead of time to help their healing and recovery afterwards, because it's really so important.
Yes, and I love that you said that about walking, because I think so many people think like, well, if I'm going to work out, it has to be like a workout. And even I had one client, she probably stopped training the end of last year, and she just had her daughter at the end of March. So it was a decent amount of time that she stopped training, but she was so uncomfortable. It was her second child. She was carrying solo. And I said to her, just walk while you're pregnant. You don't have to do anything else if it's uncomfortable, but you're going to feel so much better just because you moved your body. So I think that's important too. Like, it doesn't have to be going to a class or getting a trainer. It just finding some sort of movement, and you can use certain things as an excuse, but I think a lot of times when some of my clients will be like, well, yeah, but I'm just not feeling it today. I'm like, okay, but you will feel so much better if you just 50 minutes. That's it, a tiny walk. It doesn't have to be crazy. So I think that is really important too, even postpartum. Sometimes that's all you can do, like you're saying. And if your recovery is tough, that's the way to do it. Just walk, do small movements, small things on a stability ball to get your hips moving. But it's so important, but that will help everything, including your core and your pelvic floor.
What are some of the differences in the recovering process for natural birth versus like a C-section?
Very different. So natural, obviously your core is still drastically impacted, but you don't have any actual incisions. So that's why typically they'll say 4 to 6 weeks for a natural birth before you go back to exercising. And then it really depends on how your C-section went, how your body is recovering. I know my mom had a C-section with both me and my brother, and she could barely move for weeks because it just was so painful. You are literally cut open. It's a massive surgery. So in that sense, you have to be a lot more careful coming back into it. And it's actually interesting. I feel like I'm so much more cautious with postpartum than I am when they're actually pregnant, which seems funny because they're carrying a child. It's like you should feel more weirded out and like, oh my gosh, there's a baby in there. I don't want to hurt it. But I know how strong they are and how capable they are, and that truly what they're doing is not going to hurt the baby. Whereas afterwards, you can overdo it and you can get yourself set back by coming in too hot and trying to do too many things. So I haven't honestly had any clients that have had C-sections yet, but that I would always say defer to the doctor on at least how you're healing, but same idea. You can still do pelvic floor work. You can still walk if you're comfortable doing that. It's just being really careful to let your incision heal and let your core heal a little bit more before you're doing hardcore work around that area or with your pelvic floor or with heavy weights, because you're recovering from a massive surgery. They still don't want you to lift super heavy weights after a natural birth, but you have to be a little bit more cautious when you have the incision that is healing. Once it's healed, it's kind of the same. It's just a little bit of a slower process.
I'm glad you asked that, Katie, because I think that is a big difference in the recovery and healing and the whole process. And I think those 4 to 6 weeks are also for, I mean, this might be TMI, but we're talking about this, right? Is, a lot of people have tears when they have vaginal births, right? And like doing anything like any tough exercises, right? Like that could exacerbate that. So that's also part of that, not overdoing it, even if, mentally you want to, or physically you might feel like you might be able to, is just not making that worse or extending the recovery process too.
Yes, absolutely. And I really do, the doctors know pretty well your body and how it's healing in that sense. And I think that's why it is beneficial to have a trainer in the beginning, because it's just somebody to tell you, okay, I know you feel like you're ready, but let's take it easy. My one client, she was a professional dancer. She started with me with a back injury from dancing and was miserable when she had her back injury because she couldn't do what she used to do. We got her core super, super strong. And then she got pregnant, and they were trying and they were very excited, but she was like, what the heck? I just got my core so strong. Why is this happening now? So it was kind of, I knew what to prepare for with her because I had seen her not be able to do what she was used to doing. So it really is a lot of also mental coaching of, you are going to be okay and you are going to get back to where you were before, strength-wise. Maybe not physically, and your body may change and it may stay certain ways, and that's something I kind of try to walk them through too. Like, that's not gonna be a gauge of how we are doing postpartum, how much weight we've lost, what our body looks like based on what it looked like before we had our child. It's gonna be, are we getting back to the weight that we were using before? Is your core feeling strong enough? Are you starting to work out the same amount of times per week? So I try to set different milestones with them so that they feel like they're progressing and they're feeling stronger, without having that stigma of, okay, I'm getting back into the gym to lose the baby weight. It's more so I'm getting back into the gym to be as strong as I was before, so then I can show up better for my baby.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you just said that part about like that transition into it, a lot of it being mental, because that is something I wanted us to talk about too, in terms of how do you see benefits in, not just pregnant people, but other, anybody who comes in and exercises, like what kind of mental health benefits do you often see from people, engaging in exercise?
Well, it is funny because I think I joke about it all the time with my clients. Like, I'm not a therapist, and I would like them to see a therapist in addition to seeing me. And I would like to not be used as a therapist because I do not give great advice as a therapist. But they do, like, it's almost like I compare it sometimes to when you're like getting your hair done, and for whatever reason, you feel like you can like trauma dump on the person that you're getting your hair done with, even though they have no expertise and can provide you no guidance whatsoever on your situation. But I do think it helps, especially with private training, because it's one-on-one and they can come in and they know that they have to show up, which is what a lot of them tell me all the time. Like, they have to show up. It is just them and me. And if they don't show up, I'm there by myself and they're still paying for it. So I think that from a mental aspect, it's even if you're feeling down, even if you had a bad day, when you otherwise could have said, it's fine, I'm just not going to go today, or I'm not going to go to the gym, I don't need to go to the gym, no one's checking in on me. They have to show up because I'm there and they're paying me. So that helps a lot. But then on the flip side, they do have somebody that they can talk to and express things. And like I said, I very often say, I will work with you to find a therapist because I'm not going to provide guidance on these situations. But I can just tell it makes them feel better. Like, they're lifting heavy weights, they're sweating, they're complaining about whatever it is that happened today. And they just leave and feel like they just lifted a huge weight off of their shoulders. And I feel like it's the same when you go to group fitness. Like, you connect with these people that you otherwise wouldn't have met, wouldn't have connected with. And it's this sense of community that you show up, and even though you're not a personal training client, you know that I know if you didn't show up. Like, Katie knows that if she doesn't show up and she's on my class list, I know that she didn't show up. I'm probably going to ask her about it. And you make friends in that way that you instantly have a different connection with, because you both work out and are in this routine and are quietly, secretly, maybe unconsciously holding each other accountable. Like, you know this person is going to this class. You're going to show up because you know that they're going to show up for you and for themselves. So I think it's also just the people that you're surrounding yourself with, plus the scientific benefits of exercise and releasing your endorphins and physically and mentally just feeling better from that. But I think that people play a much larger role in that mental benefit than even sometimes the physical benefit of actually doing your workout.
So that accountability piece is so, so huge. And just having everybody around you. It's almost, if you do a workout, you might be able to slack or something like that. But if you're there in front of other people and you have your personal trainer, like, there's also like this sense of accomplishment that someone else noticed and saw that can give you that praise as well to kind of keep going, like that positive reinforcement to continue for your physical and mental health.
Yeah, and Katie knows I don't let them slack. I know how are. And sometimes, and for me too, I take classes for the same reason that everyone else takes classes, because someone's going to push me. I don't have to put the workout together myself. I just show up, it's there, I do it, and I'm done. And that's why it's so beneficial. But I think having that person, sometimes if you're doing it on your own, you're like, well, this is how strong I am. And that's just what it is. But if you have someone that can gauge, okay, well, your form is great, and you've been doing this weight for 7 months now, so maybe let's try this next weight. And your form is great with that too, so you can do that weight, and you're going to get stronger from doing that weight. And I'm sure they don't like it in the moment, but afterwards they're like, oh my God, I just lifted 20 pounds and I didn't know I could do that, or I didn't know I could even do that exercise with 20 pounds. Or they'll say before, I can't, there's no way I can lift these weights. And I'll say, just do one, do two, just try it. And it's such a sense of accomplishment for all of us, but especially for people who are newer to the space or in that group fitness setting, to have someone like single you out, that they know that you can do something stronger and they know more than you do that you can push yourself harder. You leave and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that I just did that. And I feel so great for the day. And physically, your body is in turn getting stronger as well, which is the ultimate goal. So
yeah, it really is the best thing ever. Just all of that. One of the things that Amanda and other trainers there say all the time is this, like, yes, you can, kind of phrase throughout. And like, now that's like in my head. Like today I went to hot yoga instead because of a different time restraint that I had this morning. But when I was like, oh, should I do this next pose? And it just like pops in my head and it's like, yes, you can, yes, you can. And even if you fall, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter, you know? So having that extra push is really, it's really good. Yeah. Even when I was sick, like a couple of weeks ago, both of you know, like over the last like month and a half or 2 months, I have been randomly on and off sick, and I'll come in, and Amanda's like, "Where's the bed?"
well, and you just know, like, you can just, and like I said to you the one day, like, I almost pushed you, and I was like, you know what, I can tell that something is off, so we're just gonna let her do her thing. And so it's also about that, right? Reading the room and reading people, and some people don't want to be pushed, and that's fine. They want to come, and they don't come to my class. It doesn't fly with me. I try really hard, but I just can't let it go. But that's just, they want to come and they want to do their workout, and that's okay. But I know from personal experience how great it feels to have someone have faith in you. And I do the same thing, Katie, in like when I take a class or anything, I literally have a bracelet that says yes you can on it. And I have to do the same thing. Like, what would I tell my members and what would I tell my clients in this moment when I want to stop, when I'm running or in sculpt or doing whatever, and my body is telling me, no, like, you don't need to do it, you can stop doing it, and you have to retrain your mind, like, no, we can keep going, you can do this, physically you can do this. And that's the other mental aspect of it, is a lot of times your mind is trying to trick you and tell you, no, you can't, you're not strong enough, you need to take a break, you're not going to be able to finish. But when you get through that little threshold of discomfort, you get so much stronger, and then you realize you actually can do the thing that you didn't think you could do in the first place.
I love that you put so much focus on the accomplishment of like strength being the goal and like the function of using your body, and not like kind of going back to like losing the baby weight or how you look or how you fit into particular clothes, right? Like shifting that mentality into like feeling strong and good in your body versus how it looks. I think that's really huge. And like, I'm happy to hear it, because I can take some of that advice after having a baby too, is that it's just so ingrained, like immediately after having all right, got to get this baby weight off, got to look different, instead of how can I be stronger and healthier for me and my family.
Yeah, and it's such a huge thing just with women in general. And I think I've also learned over time working with so many different women that you don't know as an instructor, unless it's my personal training clients that I get a little bit closer with, but you don't know what somebody has gone through, and you don't know if they have suffered from disordered eating or any sort of eating disorder. And so to make that the stamp of, well, if you want to track that you're getting stronger, you need to track your weight and you need to track your macros. And for some people that works. Like, I'm a person that I don't track my weight. I don't know the last time I weighed myself. I went to the doctor today and I put my little hand over the thing. I was like, write it down and keep it to yourself because I don't want to know. But I can track macros, protein, things like that, and it doesn't get me into a bad cycle of, okay, now I'm being like hyper focused on what I'm eating and why I'm eating it. But you learn so quickly who can be like that or what people have been through that may trigger them, or that may then send them into a spiral of every time they see you, they want to talk about how much they lost or how much they weigh. And I have clients that don't care at all about that, and I have clients that it has taken years to get their focus off of the number on the scale, because people will come in and say, I feel great, I fit better in my clothes, but if I could lose 5 more pounds. I'm like, for what? Why do we need, like, what is the purpose of the 5 more pounds? Because once you get to the 5 more pounds, then it's 5 more pounds. And it's like, well, could I do maybe 2 more pounds after that 5 pounds? And it's a never-ending spiral that everyone would fall into, especially women, if you continue to track that way. So I do fitness tests with them. I'll say, like, what, do you want to do a push-up? You want to do a pull-up? You want to do 20 sit-ups in a minute? Like, whatever their goal is. And when we track it like that, it kind of just takes the focus off of, okay, what does my body weigh? And also, I always tell them, first of all, you may be buying the wrong clothes. So maybe we just buy different clothes. Don't buy clothes that you wish you could fit into. Buy clothes that look good and that you fit into. But go based on your clothes. So many people will say, oh my God, my clothes fit so much better. It's like, that's the goal. Like, you feel good in what you're wearing. I had a client, she just finally, it took years, finally just completely cleaned out her closet, got a whole new wardrobe, because she knew that she was putting the effort in, she's eating healthy, she's working out 5 days a week, she looks great, and her clothes just didn't fit the right way to make her feel comfortable in the body that she had created. So she said, you know what, I'm going to get rid of all this, and I'm going to find stuff that I feel comfortable in. And I was like, that's great, because again, back to social media, we see stuff on social media, we're like, oh my gosh, I would love to look like so-and-so. You don't have so-and-so's genetics, so you're probably never going to look like them, and I can't help you look like them. I can help you look like a stronger version of yourself, but I can't take someone else's arms and put them onto your body, and I can't do that for myself either, or I would. And so it's just retraining that mindset of, you can't base it on what somebody else looks like or what somebody else's weight loss journey was. And my biggest thing is, you don't ever know how people treat their body internally based on what they look like. So I tell my clients that all the time. I have a really close friend. She is so tiny. She has tiny little legs, tiny little arms. It's just how she was born. It's her genetics. She's my height. She's tall. It's just her body type. She probably couldn't put a lot of weight on if she wanted to put weight on, but she eats like crap. And I'm like, so that doesn't tell you anything. If you see someone on social media and you're idolizing their body, internally, their body is probably not as healthy as you want your body to be internally. So you have to focus on that first, and then let the external kind of just do its thing as you go. And that takes a lot of time and patience, and it is frustrating, but you will get there if you put the work in and take the time.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with the nutrition, because that's obviously a huge part of it. And that, for me, is like the worst part of it, because I love to eat, and I love to eat all of the things. And I'm in there at least 5 days a week normally. And if I'm still eating whatever I want whenever I want, then like it actually really doesn't make it. I mean, I feel stronger. I might feel different, but I don't really look that much different.
Yeah, it is so true. And I actually at one point did a nutrition. I'm not a registered dietitian, so I can't necessarily say like, Katie, this is what you should eat, for your body type. And that's the other thing. Everyone's bodies are so different. So that's my other pet peeve, is things on social media that are like, don't eat this, eat this, don't eat this. Well, you don't know how your body reacts. Maybe your body is fine if you eat gluten and dairy. You don't need to give it up because everyone else is giving it up. But some people have really bad reactions to it, and it does make them feel better. So I think a lot of it is what makes you feel good. But I had my clients do somewhat of a nutrition challenge where they basically, if they felt comfortable, because like I said, it can get into a dark place for some people, but just writing down what they were eating, not tracking calories, not trying to track macros, because some people just genuinely don't know. they really think they're eating healthy, and if you ask them point blank, they say, yeah, I live a really healthy lifestyle. And then they'll write it down, and if you break it down for them, like, this is what you're eating all day, is making a huge impact on you. And I think even going back to having children, so many people will say, well, I have children, so how am I supposed to eat healthy? Like, how about your children also eat healthy? And then you could all eat healthy together, and then everyone would feel good. And it's such an interesting concept to me, and I don't have kids, so I can't say, like, I know that it's challenging, and I totally get that. And it's like, just feed the kid because they're hungry, and this is what they're going to eat, and this is what they want, and this is what I'm giving them. But you have to prioritize yourself. And the parents and mothers that I've seen prioritize their own health and fitness are so much happier than the people who are just giving into the bad habits because it's easier, and because, well, I don't have time to cook dinner because this is what the kids are having, so I'm just also having cereal or something else. And it's just learning how your body reacts to things. Like, I am a huge food person. I'm not someone that is like super, super clean eating 24/7. But I try to listen to what my body is telling me, in a sense of, like, do I feel better when I have carbs in the morning or at night? Or do I feel fine when I have them whenever? And that helps me a lot. But also just listening to the cravings of what your body is telling you without letting that take over. So it's the same as the exercise stuff. Like, nobody wants to exercise every day. There is not a single person that wakes up every day and is like, I ready to go, I love it, like, I'm so excited to be here. It just doesn't happen. That's why we have personal trainers and workout classes, because then you have accountability, like we talked about. But it's the same with the healthy eating and nutrition aspect of it. Like, you don't want to do that every day, but if you sprinkle in these things that you like here and there, you get rid of that idea of, okay, well, on the weekend I'm going to eat whatever I want, but during the week I'm going to eat really healthy. That doesn't help you at all, because you just have this bad cycle of, I'm going to eat really crappy on the weekend, but I'm going to eat really healthy during the week, but I'm still putting crap in my body on the weekend. So if you have things spread out throughout the month here and there, you're going to be so much better off. And getting into that routine, it's all about the routine. It's the same with exercise. It's the same with, I'm sure you guys see in your practice all the time, the different routines that you have to get yourself into to get into these things that you want to work on. It's the same with healthy eating. You can't do it for 2 days and then be like, it's too much, I don't like it. It's not for me. I'm going to go back to how it was. Because it is easier. Like, nobody wants to cook every day and rather just eat out or get fast food. Like, it is easier, but I've gotten my body to a place where genuinely, I think I had a cheesesteak like about 4 days ago. I felt so horrible because I just don't eat like that all the time. And, like, did it taste great? Yeah, it tasted great. I loved it. But my body afterwards was like, what the heck processed nonsense did you just put into me? And why do I feel like this? So then you just get to a point where, like, I don't really want this stuff anymore. And every once in a while you do, but it's not an everyday, oh, it's just part of my routine, I'm just going to grab this food that is not that great.
How do you see this show up for women who are pregnant with, like, cravings, or if they're nauseous? Like, in the beginning, I would just, like, down a sleeve of saltine crackers. Like, it was nobody's business. And then, like, throughout the pregnancy, all I was craving was, like, pasta, pizza, and ice cream. Like, my baby is made up of pasta, pizza, and ice cream. But, like, knowing that it's not the healthy thing to eat, but, like, your body almost feels like if you don't have it, you will die. Like, I know it's dramatic, but, like, sometimes it feels like that during pregnancy.
Yeah, it is true. I think similarly to how I feel about just general nutrition, like, you don't want to go either way so drastically. Like, my one client that I was talking about, and I use her as an example for everything because she is one of my closest friends now, but also an absolute nut job when it comes to all of this stuff. And she knows, she's very well aware that she's a little crazy. But she's always been she grew up in Israel, so she grew up on a Mediterranean diet and is just like so used to, okay, this is how we eat. Like this is the normal way of eating. So she never really like adapted to, yeah, I'm just going to have fast food. Like she doesn't understand that. So when it came to pregnancy, she was like polar opposite. Like she'd be like, I'm craving a bagel and I will not have a bagel. I'm like, you could just have a bagel. Like it's going to be okay if you have a bagel and you probably will feel better. So, and I think it's just finding that middle ground, right? Of like, one of the things I always say that I think is the biggest myth is you don't have to eat for two. So people say that all the time, like, well, I'm eating for two, so I can eat extra. Not really. I think the most important thing is your protein, getting enough protein, because when you have those cravings, it's not healthy protein. It's stuff that we know we shouldn't be eating. But like you said, you're like, but I physically feel like I need to have this. So if you're balancing that out with, okay, but at least I'm getting my protein in, I'm having, some vegetables, balancing out my other meals. So then when I have these cravings, like I feel like I can give in to them. But it's also, everything is so connected, which is what's so interesting to me. So it's like if you are consuming high levels of sugar during pregnancy, they don't really know how that could impact your child. And now is that within your child, like feeling that as they grow, now they have this sense of not really sugar dependence, but okay, I'm used to having this sense of nutrients. So it is interesting, like how does it all, come together? But I've seen both extremes, and I think we shouldn't go to either extreme as much as we can try to find a middle ground of, okay, I'm getting the nutrients I need, but I'm also having my cravings when I want to. That's the best that we can do when our body is performing a really crazy cool thing.
That's great. I'm glad you were able to outline that. So it sounds like balance, right? A lot of this is just balance and listening to your body and keeping in touch and like being attuned to what you need.
Absolutely, yes.
So this was great. I can't believe we are coming close to an end. I feel like we could continue talking about this forever. I feel like we've only been talking for 10 minutes, but it's been...
This is our problem, Kira, all the time. I feel like this happens all the time.
This is why Joe Rogan has like 4-hour podcast episodes where they just like hang out and talk and see what comes up.
No, like we really could do that. It would be no problem.
Truly. I can talk about it for days.
Oh. But this was...
With that being said...
No, go ahead,
Kira. Well, I was just going to say, with that being said, like, is there any kind of final, like, thoughts or things that you would kind of want to share as just some, closing?
I would just say, if you're pregnancy or not, if you're looking to get into fitness, just start somewhere. Find a safe space. It doesn't, like we talked about, walking is fitness. It's a workout. So if you're, just start where you are. If you're sedentary, sitting on a couch, sitting at a desk all day and you don't work out, go for a 10-minute walk. If you have been walking and you want to try workout classes, try to find a space where you feel comfortable and safe with an instructor or a trainer that lets you try and grow and like gives you the confidence to then do that kind of stuff on your own. And I think that's the really important thing. But a lot of people, I think, feel as though they need to know all of it and be so strong and fit to even join a gym. And then like, what am I doing here? Why would I be here? If you know all of the things and you're strong and you can make it through the whole class, like I can't make it through half of the classes. So you're getting stronger as you go. But I think just meeting yourself where you are and starting slow and slowly increasing whatever it is that your goal is, get to that place. You don't have to dive in and start training for a marathon or start going to group fitness classes that are high intensity, that are terrifying to you, to start your fitness journey.
Thank you for that. And Amanda, where can people find you to reach out to you if they want to work with you, join your classes, or have you be their personal trainer?
Yeah, so my personal Instagram is just my first name underscore last name, Amanda Matrisciano. You could reach out to me there if you have any questions about anything that we talked about, or if you want to work with me personally. And then the studio that I work for is called Never Give Up in Manayunk. So on Instagram, we're just Never Give Up underscore Manayunk. And on our website, nevergiveuptraining.com, you could find pricing, classes, personal training options, all of the different things that we offer if you have any questions.
And I wanted to ask you, because I know I saw in your form that you started baking goods. Just give
Oh
a
my
shout
gosh,
out to
I
that because I
did.
didn't want to skip over that because that sounds really cool.
I
It looks
did.
really good. I gotta get something from you like soon.
That's my whole balance. Like I was talking about, I love food, so I really love baking, but I can't have so many baked things in my home just for me and my boyfriend alone to eat. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna sell them. But yes, my baking business is called Celestial, like space, baked goods. It's named after all of our dogs that are named after different celestial
Oh,
beings. But we sell bread, muffins, other types of baked goods. So you can find me on Instagram there if you are in the Philly area and want to order some bread.
awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being on with us today, sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and everything. If you like the episode, please like, share, and subscribe. But otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you. I had a blast.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow morning.